Welcome to another episode of Soap Thing Thoughts. Joining me today is Matt Pisarcik of RazorEmporium.com. Welcome to the Soap Thing Project, and thank you very much for joining me.
Hey, thank you so much, Benjamin, for having us.
So, for the two or three of you who are watching who don't know who this guy is, he is a subject matter expert with regard to Gillette safety razors of yesteryear, and particularly the restoration and maintenance of those razors. I'm talking about Gillette razors from the early 1900s all the way up until the mid 70s and even into the 80s. We could spend hours talking about how we got here, but I think I would prefer to start with this question. What exactly have you learned about vintage Gillette razors that is compelling or noteworthy?
Um, well, I think I would say that razors from yesteryear were made incredibly well, um, and there's not a single company that I could think of that's doing them in the same fashion or regard or quality. In some light, in terms of the value for the dollar, there's obviously in today's market, there seems to be two main paradigms. There's the companies that do the zinc alloy, chrome plated thing, and those are companies like Edwin Jagger, Merkur, Mula. Uh, and then there's the companies that do the high end stainless steel thing, CNC milled, like Blackland or Yates or Rex, or Carve. But there's no one kind of doing what Gillette did with the progressive stamped brass, and that was pretty unique. And I guess that's why I like the vintage Gillette so much. They're just kind of part of a machining process that's no longer really around.
Right. Yeah, it is interesting that you mentioned that, but because before we started this video, I had a thought that kind of went through my head, and that is that I don't have a lot of vintage Gillettes in my collection right now. In my collection back in the States, I've got, super speeds and fat boys and slims and all sorts of stuff. But I do have a super speed right here. So this is what we're talking about, is stuff like this. You turn the knob and the door is open and you can insert the blade that way. So we look at that, and it's a nickel plated brass usually that was made on various stamping machines, and it's stamped brass basically, right?
Correct.
So uh we look at that as being, we like to say they don't make them like they used to. But you have to remember, back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, when Gillette was having their double-edged renaissance, we had things like Bakelite and a couple of other early plastics. But for the most part, practically everything was made from steel and brass and wood and things like that. And so I think you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I would venture to say that people back then who were buying these off the shelf at their local grocery store brand new maybe didn't necessarily regard them as quite so high quality. It was what you would expect to find when buying a wide variety of products. I mean, would you say that's correct?
I would say that's correct for sure. Yes, 100%. The way that Gillette made the razor was directly proportional to the price point that they needed to be at, and the volume and the quantity they needed to be at. And when it comes to manufacturing, uh, casting is obviously cheap, very cheap, but the quality is pretty subpar most times. And when I say subpar, it's even today. You look at people that own a Merkur or an Edwin Jagger, they have it for a couple of years and they drop it and it usually breaks. Gillette was, I think, trying to do something a little better than that with the stamped brass. At the same time, they were doing something that was cost effective in their mind because it was the way to make something economically. And the whole point of these razors was to be a loss leader and to be something that got a product into people's hands that they could then continue to buy razor blades and to fill. Um, so it's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did they do it because they wanted a quality piece, or they do it because that was just kind of the way things were made? I think it's more the latter. That was just the way things were made, especially in the scale they needed. They needed hundreds of thousands of razors at a time. It wasn't like, oh, we need a couple hundred here and there. Um, and without stamping, CNC didn't exist in the 1960s, 1970s. You didn't have a CNC machine, so you really had to do either die cast or stamp. That was really the two major, machining methods possible, and they went with the stamped, and I think they did really well. And that's why we can today work on these old razors, is because they were so well made.
Right. And to your point, anybody who knows a little bit about how manufacturing works, as you scale up production and you make increasingly more of the same thing, it gets cheaper because at a certain point you pay for your tooling, and then you're just running your machines on autopilot. It seems to me though that Gillette overproduced these razors, because I guess how else would you explain there being so many of them left over for us to take and use? Some of them don't even need a revamp, which is the service you do. You strip them out and clean them and reapply the nickel plating or rhodium or gold.
I don't know if I would say they were overproduced. I would say that Gillette's marketing was effective, and people stopped using double-edged razors in lieu of cartridge razors exactly when Gillette told them to stop using double-edged razors. People followed the marketing trends and were good little consumers and moved on to cartridge razors, Atra, Track 2. I can't tell you how many times I've run into people who said that they had they personally had a vintage razor, or their grandfather or their dad or uncle, whoever, had a vintage razor. Oh, we stopped using it, it just became old. We couldn't find blades, or the new razors came out, and it's weird to think about a Fat Boy or a Super Speed like a disposable razor, but for most people, that's really what it was. And it got thrown into a drawer, thrown into a box, thrown. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people and they was thrown in the garbage can. They threw a Fat Boy in the garbage can. Oh, it was outdated. It wasn't really needed anymore. It's just like shocking, but that's just the reality.
Yeah, you make some good points. I actually just got done doing a series that where I went from like the Techmatic through the Track 2 to the Atra, the Sensor, the Mach 3, and the Fusion, and I kind of showed that evolution. It's interesting to wrap your head around that idea that people were excited to get out of double-edged razors. They were just following the market trend. Well, if that's what's on the shelf, then it must be what I should be using. And a lot of us, hobbyists who, or even people who are not hobbyists, but they just don't want to use cartridge razors, they're using safety razors and the like. We might be surprised to hear that people were perfectly happy to walk away from it when something else came onto the market.
To me, it's not that surprising. You talk to your average person who's using a safety razor of any kind, whether it's a cartridge or a blade razor, a double-edged, single-edge injector. Most people are completely unengaged with their shaving experience. They are using whatever works. They're using whatever's on the grocery store shelf. They have very little interest or knowledge or expertise or really discernment of why they use what they use. They use what they use because that's what I got at the grocery store. It's what's available. It's what I've always used. So it's what my wife bought me. It's what my dad showed me. I mean, all these things. Very few people are conscientious and choosing a method of shaving, with the um, so it doesn't really surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah, it's interesting what we choose not to invest time in. So, like, most people just don't care to spend a couple extra minutes shaving differently, but yet grown men will still take 10 minutes to do their hair. It's it's just I just had to throw that out there. I think it's interesting what we choose to invest time in when it comes to shaving, because like people like me, now that I've discovered double edge shaving, I will never go back. I will. You still there?
I'm here. Sorry. Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Uh, I will. Now that I've discovered double edge shaving, I will never go back. I will occasionally like dip my toes into what used to be for me, but I'm not gonna go back to it on any permanent basis, because I do think it's better. It takes more skill, it takes more focus, and it's slower. Uh, but I think that makes it better. I don't think we talk enough about how we're doing this for a reason, because we think it's a better way to shave. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it. We would just be sitting there with our Mach 3 and our can of Gillette foamy and until the day we die. But some
Yeah,
of us
but
are not doing that.
you got to remember there's two main consumers that I talk to, and again, I've been involved with this hobby for coming up on 15 years. There's the consumer that is interested because of choice, and choice can mean I want a better experience, I want a cheaper experience, I want a more enjoyable experience, all those things. But then there's also the consumer that is involved with this because of necessity, and that is, I can't get a good shave with an electric or cartridge razor. I get ingrown hairs, I get irritation. And so by necessity, I'm involved with this. So there's a choice and necessity kind of crowd. Um, there is the secret option C. There's a secret third option that's very, very small. It's just that it goes to, well, I ought to not have a wasteful experience. I ought to be more conservation minded or whatever. That's so small. Um, Most people get involved because of price. Oh, I don't want to pay money for the blades and cartridges, or necessity. Oh, I can't use these products. They are not good for my skin. So outside of those two markets, everything else is just trivial.
Right.
Um, which is why, and I fit into that. I fit into the latter. I fit into the necessity. I couldn't personally use these other products, so to me, it's a necessity.
Right. I think how you and I got started is not too dissimilar. I can perfectly well use anything off the shelf. I just don't want to because I don't enjoy it. Versus wet shaving, with a safety razor, I do. But yeah, it's funny how we're all like, oh, yeah, I want to save money, and because these cartridge razors are too expensive, and then look what happens to us.
Well, we save money on a grand scale of many years, I guess. But it's still a super cheap hobby compared to any other hobby. I always say this. I'm a guitar player, and you want to talk about an expensive hobby. Guitars are expensive. You can spend two to three, four, $5,000 on a nice guitar. You can spend the same on a nice amplifier. You talk about effects pedals and cables, and you're talking, triple digits instantly on those. You can spend $10,000 on a decent guitar rig, and you know, people have a problem spending $200 on a razor, and it's like it's so interesting to see the dichotomy. Um, but this hobby is to me a super cheap hobby to be involved in. There's so many vendors out there that make great stuff. There's so many products. There's so many choices, so many options. It's so decentralized that it's a very inexpensive hobby, and I think people should jump into it and enjoy it because it really is the cost benefit ratio. The other thing I always tell people, let's talk about another hobby for a second. Here in the United States, owning firearms is pretty common, and I own lots of firearms, and other people do. Again, you can spend thousands of dollars on a firearm and then ammunition, and then you got to go out and make time to use it and go to the range or go to find a place in the desert or forest. And whereas shaving is something where you can spend a couple $100, get some great products, but then you get to use it all the time, and you get to
Right.
use it at home, and you get to use it often, frequently, and it's just so much more accessible than, let's say, shooting or even guitar playing.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've got a lot of guns in my safe back in the States too, so I know exactly what that's all about. It is compelling in that there is a very no barrier to entry kind of retail therapy satisfaction. Because you can get a puck of soap for, in some cases you can still get them for like $15. Well, practically everybody can afford that. So it's not like, you got some people who are restoring a car in their garage and they're going to dump 20 grand into it. Like, not everybody can do that, but practically everybody can
Right.
buy a $40 razor and a $15 soap, and they're having an interesting experience.
Agreed. And yeah, it's the everyday accessible, it's the affordable luxury, it's the utilitarian kind of thing. Oh, shaving, it's something I have to do already. I might as well enjoy it.
Right. Well, I hate to do it this way, but let's hard pivot into talking about Rex, because I know that is your brand for new machined safety razors. Can you briefly tell me what that's all about?
Yeah, sure. Well, we were involved, as a company, we were involved for close to a decade with uh, buying and selling and restoring vintage razors, vintage Gillette razors mostly, and being a retail company, selling soaps and creams and brushes. And, there's only so long you can do that without getting a little curious about doing it yourself. There's
Right.
only so long you can look at Gillette razors and other people's razors coming in for service and not kind of have a little itch to want to do your own. And that itch, started presenting itself quite a long time ago. It got serious probably towards 2015, 2016, with developing a razor. And, I looked at the market and I thought, yeah, the three-piece market looks pretty crowded. I wanted to do something a little different. And so I looked to kind of the past, found an old French razor that really hadn't been modernized, took a lot of design cues from that and modernized it, new materials, different angles, different, knurling patterns, different processes of how to make it. And we came up with kind of an introductory offer. That was 2017. We came out with a two-piece adjustable razor called the Ambassador. And I really didn't want to have my retail brand kind of be in conflict with the manufacturing brand. So I thought, let's make another brand here.
Right.
And that's mostly because of business model. I didn't want to have potential retail customers, like let's say West Coast Shaving or Shave Nation or Maggard's Razors, look at this and say, well, hey, you're Razor Emporium, you're one of our retail competitors. I said, no, I want to be kind of a third party. And so we came up with another name called Rex. And Rex was an avenue to have a manufacturer brand. And so we came out in 2017 with this two-piece adjustable razor called the Rex Ambassador. And the big criteria that I had was American made, stainless steel, lifetime warranty. And I wanted those to be kind of the main driving factors behind the design. And that came out in 2017 and it did well. We've sold thousands and thousands of these razors at this point. We had some other razors. We had a three-piece version come out called the Envoy. And then 2 years ago, we had a slanted version come out called the Console. It was a slant adjustable, which at the time was the only one in the world really to do a slant adjustable razor. And now, as of this month, in fact, this week, we are unveiling our fourth razor, the Sentry. And the Sentry is going to be a three-piece non-adjustable slant, just a three-piece slant razor, made in USA, lifetime warranty. But yeah, that's Rex in a nutshell. It's Rex stands for a lot of things in my mind. Number one, it stands for Razor Emporium Experience. So kind of REX, Razor Emporium Experience.
Right. That's clever.
Yeah, the official tagline we have is revisiting excellence, because we look at the past, Gillette, Schick, other brands had really awesome razors. We want to kind of revisit these old ideas, go back to this golden era, so to speak. That's Rex, and it's been for 5.5, almost 6 years. It's been a subsidiary company that we have, and the business model is wholesale mostly. And when I say that, we sell maybe a quarter or a third of razors direct to consumer, and the other 2/3, 3/4 go to other stores around the world. And that's part of the pricing structure. So we have 50 plus stores around the world that carry Rex products. And I always tell customers, they don't get this at first. I say, the shaving market, wet shaving market is much bigger than you think. It's way bigger, and it doesn't exist online. And the people who get on chat rooms, get on Facebook, get on YouTube, and are all super enthusiastic, they're like the spearhead. But there's a huge part of the market that is just silent majority of people who use double-edged razors, use wet shaving products, but they're never going to talk about it. They're never going to get online and post about it. They're just users.
So the bottom of the iceberg, the part of the iceberg that's not sticking out of the water, that's way bigger.
Absolutely. And just recently we had, we have our own YouTube channel, and it's got, 43,000 subscribers and 9 million views. Pretty big channel. A couple weeks ago, we put out a video from a competitor's product, Blackland Osprey, and I put out a video, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the razor. I didn't think it shaved as well as I think it should have for the price, and people were complaining and saying, how could you can't even be, how could you be credible? You're so biased. You obviously make a product in the same category. And I said, Blackland's not my competitor. You guys you're missing the boat. Henson, Rockwell, those are my competitors. Henson and Rockwell are much more my business model. They have mass market appeal. They have stores around the world carrying their product. They are getting intro customers. That's the key demographic, is people getting people converted from cartridge razors or electric razors into double edge. Blackland's direct to consumer. You have to go to his website. He doesn't sell to stores. I used to. We used to carry Blackland, but it's all direct to consumer now.
Right.
And he's not my competitor at all. Just because he's stainless steel adjustable razor doesn't mean he's my competitor. It's business model. And Henson and Rockwell, we not only sell Razor Emporium, but I've been extremely complimentary of those brands because I admire what they do. I admire that they are converting people and they are growing the pool. To me, that's the real magic sauce. If you're not growing the pool of people involved with wet shaving, you're just a leech. You're just another person sucking up the air. You
Right.
have to get the market bigger.
Right.
That's goal number one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and you put that kind of bluntly, the exact way I would put it. If you're going to enter this market from a business standpoint, I expect you to bring something to the table that's value added. Uh,
Yep.
I'm not going to debate whether or not certain products are value added. I did see the Blackland Osprey, and I thought it was interesting. Not interesting in like I want to try it, but interesting in like, huh, okay. uh, but I've also tried. I did dip my toes into Rex. I got myself a. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
That's weird. I'm not sure what happened there. Anyway, I got myself a Rex Envoy, and I really wanted to like it, but the issue I had with it was a little too much exposure for me. And when I say too much exposure, I mean I had a couple shred fests. But then when the Sentry came out, I was like, ooh, this might be something I might have to take a look at because it didn't isn't it blade neutral?
Yeah. Yeah. And I get it. Everyone's different. There seems to be two major camps that I've kind of picked up in a decade of doing this. There seems to be two major camps of shavers, and there's guys who have a little more tough, coarse beards, and there's guys who have a little more easier to tame or more normal beards. Um, and there's people that like more blade feel, more aggressive kind of feel. There's guys who want more mild or medium and more easy, normal kind of shave. It's hard to make a razor that appeals to everybody. Um, with our ambassador, it has settings on it 1 through 6, and I always tell people I use setting 3. I don't use setting 6 or 5 or 4. I use setting 3, and I know people that use setting 6. I know people use setting 1. There's a setting for everybody. I would think goes from mild to wild, as I always say.
Right.
And then we have an adjustable slant. It kind of does the same thing, in the sense that it's more neutral feeling and it's supposed to be more efficient. And it gets a lot more positive reviews in the sense that it's more widely accepted. That's fine. That's cool. The Sentry, yeah, it comes out this week on Black Friday. We're shipping them out, and it's kind of continues that idea of more of a blade neutral, a very efficient shave. Um, I'm already thinking about a fifth razor. So we have 4 razors right now as of this week. I'm already thinking about number 5. And I was joking with someone earlier today. I said, I'll just redo the tech. I will redo the tech razor because to me, the Gillette Tech razor is the most friendly intro to wet shaving feel is a tech razor. It is not close. It is not aggressive. It is not mild. It's the Goldilocks. And you see companies like Feather. The Feather ASD2 was directly, I mean, lifted from the tech razor. And other people have copied. Icon made a tech razor. Um, even a lot of the carved geometry is based off a tech razor. And I think that's going to be another chapter very soon for Rex, just to shut up the people who are the naysayers. That's fine. And we'll make a very mild, easy shaver that's just, you're not going to need a close shave. You're going to have to do 5 passes in every direction. but it'll be easy to use.
Right.
To me, I have a super heavy beard, and I always wanted to do the one pass, close shave with the one pass. Some people don't like that. That's fine.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. If you made something like that, I would pick that up long before I'd pick up a Feather ASD2, just because it's USA made. And I I like the style of your razors, but yeah, for some reason I gave the Envoy a good run, and it just didn't work. But that's just me. I since then I have learned that blade neutral is kind of where I need to be from my shaving habits. I always like to talk about I could probably shave with a lot of things, but then there's the question of, do I want to change my shaving habits to fit this product? That's a different question.
No, I don't think. I think that I don't. Yeah, back to my original point. Not every razor is for every person, and I don't kid myself to think that our razor line, the Rex products, are going to be for every single person. Um, that being said, we've sold 18, almost 20,000 razors in a couple of years. I think we're doing okay. Um, but it's hard to find something that works for everybody. I do want to have an easy shaver razor. We had a different design that we were prototyping. I won't say who, but another competitor kind of beat us to the market with that design. It was adopting a razor from the past and bringing it to the modern day. And another vendor kind of beat me to the punch. It was sad because I'd spent a good 2 years prototyping it, but that'll just remain in a drawer. And I think the Tech Razor will just be the easiest one to pick from because it's so ubiquitous and it's so proven, and it won't be original at all. I'll have to think of maybe some original aspect of it, or the material alone, and the price, the USA made and stainless steel and lifetime warranty, I guess, will be the differentiators. Because to me, Tech Razors are literally a dime a dozen. I mean, they're just so easy to find, a Tech Razor, but I guess they're popular for a reason.
Right. No, you're right. I do have one final question for you before we start to wrap this up. You said you have four razors. Well, two of them are slants, so 50% of your razors are slants. What is the draw, the appeal? Like for example, the Sentry is more or less a slanted Envoy with blade neutrality. Why go for a slant? Why not just make, say, a more mild Envoy?
You know, I have what I think is a unique position in the market, that I'm not a spring chicken. Um, I've watched plenty of companies come and go. Most recently, Above the Tie. Above the
Yeah,
Tie, was started around the same time we did. They went out of business. Now, yeah, I understand that Shane from Blackland has bought the rights to use the name. Maybe he'll bring back some designs or whatever, but that doesn't change the fact that they failed as a business. And by failed, I'm not saying that disparagingly. I mean that they failed to stay viable, and failed to stay in business. Um, I've seen other ones that have come and gone, and one commonality of the companies that have gone out of business. Another one, Weber, Trade Array.
that's
And
been
they
a
keep on
while.
going. Yeah, but the commonality between these companies that come and go, from what I see, is they turn into parts companies. And by parts companies, I mean that they just turn into, well, we got these five different handles and these five different, guards and these different caps, and you can just mix and match, and you can just make products here. And we're going to have different base plates. We're going to have 10 different base plates for you to choose from. Um, you can get away with that when you are Yates Precision or your Carve, and I respect both those people. We sell both those products on Razor Emporium. Yates and Carve, both own their own machines, meaning they are a manufacturer who who sells products direct to consumer. Um, People like Blackland or us or Rockwell have to contract to machine shops, and when you talk to machine shop and you want to get good pricing on parts, you're looking at very high production runs. You're looking at 500 piece or 1,000 piece or 2,000 piece, runs to get different price. Well, now you have two different guards. Well, now you got to carry double the inventory, three different guards. We got A guard, B guard, C guard. Now we have to have 3,000 pieces of these guards, and hope that people like them. But inevitably, what always happens is you talk to these people, is the medium always sells best, the one in the middle. Well, we don't sell that many A guards and B guards. We sell lots of C's and D's. And no one wants E's or F's either. Everyone wants the middle guard. So say we come out with an envoy and there's a low, medium, high envoy. We get a guard 1, guard 2, guard 3, guard A, B, C, whatever. I'm going to sell the most in the middle, just because people say, well, I want the Goldilocks. I don't want too mild. I don't want too aggressive. I'm going to get the one in the middle. But I have to make all these other ones. I have to make, hundreds of pieces of other ones. To me, if you want to change the way a razor shaves, play with your blade. Put a different blade in, get a different blade pairing. The slants, yeah, we have the console adjustable slant, and we now have the Century coming out this week with the 3-piece slant. They're more blade neutral. I'm sure I'm going to hear people say that they're not the perfect razor. They wish it was this way. They wish it was that way. That's fine. And if we did a tech razor, a 3-piece tech razor, we could directly copy the tech razor. And I'm going to hear from people that it's not aggressive enough. It's not efficient enough. So you're never going to make everyone happy with one design. I don't know any razor that makes everyone happy. The closest thing I think would be the Gillette Fat Boy, but even that, today's wet shaver says the Fat Boy is not aggressive enough. Even on setting number 9, it's not aggressive enough. Other people say it's the Holy Grail. I've seen it for 10, 15 years. There's just no making the wet shaver happy. You got to have lots of different varieties, and that's the spice of life.
Do you believe that slants provide a better shave or just maybe a different shave?
Well, we did a video a couple of months back where we took all the slant razors on the market that were currently available, and we shot them all out together. And it was shocking how much different they felt. Some were very aggressive feeling and super like potato peeler, like, wow, this just takes everything off. Some are more mild. I do think that in principle they should be more efficient. But I think you can still play with that efficiency. And truth be, and I'm not, let me just kind of shed some light with our console and with our Century. It was kind of a compromise when people said, "Oh, can you come up with a blade neutral ambassador or blade neutral envoy and have a version called something else?" I didn't like that, so I said, "Well, why don't we do kind of two at one? We'll we'll do blade neutral, but we'll get some more efficiency with the slant design." So we kind of had two in one there. Uh, I'm not a big fan of the multi-plate thing. I think it's silly. You look back, and again, I'm influenced by the past. The only time Gillette even got close to this was in the 1950s, where they had the low and the medium and the high. They had the blue tip and the flare tip in the red tip. That was the only time Gillette did this. You can have differences with fixed razor handles. But from 1903, 1904 to 1953, 1954, for 50 years of history, Gillette never said, we have different guards for you or different exposures for you or different blade gaps for you. That was never even in the conversation. So I guess I take more of that road. If you want to change your shave, to me, change the blade. But even on top of that, almost any razor, if you just change the angle in which you hold it up to your skin, you can change the way it shaves. If you ride the cap more, it's gonna be more mild than riding, let's say the guard.
Right.
Um,
Because that's the way I tried to shave with the Envoy, was to ride the base plate like I do with a lot of other razors. And you can't do that with that razor. That is a top cap shaver without a doubt. At least in my situation, it was. I'm not saying it's bad. Like, I am sure there are people out there who get a great shave with it, but I think I just wanted to point out that I'm definitely excited about the Sentry, because it is approaching what I tend to go for. So it's a really
well,
compelling prospect for me.
we should send one to you for review.
We can talk about that offline, but that would be something I'd be willing to talk about. Let's start to wrap this up. I always ask everybody I have on, whether they're just another shaver or a retailer, or somebody who's in the business. What have you learned since you started wet shaving that you could pass on to either new shavers or maybe even seasoned shavers that haven't picked up what you've learned? Well, what is the most interesting or the most important thing you'd want to tell people?
Experiment. Um, don't accept the results from the first blade or even first 5 blades you use. Don't accept the results from the first shaving cream or the first 5 shaving creams you use. Keep on trying things. Keep on uh, buying gear, trying it. If it doesn't work, return it or sell it. Um, Keep the hunt for the perfect shave alive. Try things for yourself. Don't go off of what some guy says you need to do 5 different passes in different directions to get a good shave. Try for yourself the way things work. Challenge your assumptions. You've heard everyone say use warm water, use cold water. Try that. See if that works better for you. You hear everyone say you got to use a badger brush, try a synthetic brush. You say everyone says you got to, do this, do that instead. I'm a very independent thinking person. I'm a very kind of self-driven person, and what drives me crazy with this market, any market really, is the group think. The group think mentality takes over, and people don't think for themselves and don't experiment and try new things, and then go out. They just take some assumptions as dogmas, fact, and they never challenge them. They never try, or they come to my store and they buy a 100 pack of feather blades, and they never have tried you know Persona blah blues. They just keep on. Well, I heard feather's the best. I gotta get the feather. Let me get the feather blades. Challenge your assumptions is what I would tell you is the recipe for success. Never never take what you think is the best without um, a heavy amount of testing that hypothesis and letting the results speak for themselves. Um, at the same time, never make excuses. If you have a product and you've tried it for a week or 2 or 3, and it just continues to give you bad results, or it continues to not be for you, give it up. Don't fall in love with your assumptions. Don't fall in love with the things you just want to love and say, well, I just love the way this brush looks. It has to be for me. Or I love the way this soap smells. It's got to be for me. Or I love the way this razor looks. It just has to be for me. No. Challenge your assumptions, experiment, question what you think, keep on trying new things till you find out the perfect recipe for you.
That's really well said. Man, that group think. That group think
It's
is
real.
hilarious. You just love to see it on social media just so you can laugh at them. It's craziness how people just like stubbornly refuse uh to accept what's not working.
or they have a conflict, they don't even know it. They know the artisan, they know the brush maker, they know the soap maker, they know the razor maker, and they have to bow before them and kneel before the authority, and they're compromised. Basically, they can't think logically and rationally about it. It's an emotional reaction. Um, you know that happens, but you would hope you can move past that eventually.
Right. So yeah, I mean, those are good points. I don't get settled or don't settle for less. There's enough variety out there that you should be able to come very close to perfection. You should be able to get the best shave of your life.
That's right.
It's not difficult. You have to try a handful of things here and there, and you can get pretty close. And sometimes it doesn't even take that long. I've seen people that they get 2 or 3 razors into their hobby, and they're like, I think I got it. Like I got it. It was, and then they're excited to go into the bathroom. It's amazing to see. It really is. Well, I will go ahead and put Matt Pisarcik's YouTube channel in the description of this video, as well as his website. Everything that is Matt Pisarcik, we will go ahead and put in the description of the video. And hey, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure to talk to you and talk about the hobby. And I am looking forward to doing more episodes of these. I took a break from it for a while, but I'm hoping we can jumpstart this and get a few out there before the end of the year.
Well, I thank you a lot. Yeah, I called you from my backyard here in Phoenix, Arizona. Um, it's kind of a different week with Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Thanksgiving. Uh, I kind of took the day off to spend some time with some family, but it was nice talking with you and nice, sharing. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy who got involved with this for the exact same reason that most people out there got involved. I was looking for a better way to shave. I was looking for a way to shave that worked. I am results based. I'm all about what works. I'm all about trial and error. To me, there's no dogma. There's no pillars that can't be attacked. Challenge your assumptions. See what works for you. Try lots of things. Throw them all against the wall. See what sticks. If you do that with wet shaving, you have a good outcome. You'll have a good experience. If you go into with a bunch of assumptions and a bunch of preconceived notions and glass ceilings of products or people that you can't attack, you're going to have a bad time. Have fun, experiment, get good shaves, and don't stop wondering how good it can be and how good what products are out there for you, because when you challenge those things and when you go against paradigm, you really find out what works for you and how good the experience can be.
Very well said, Matt. I couldn't agree more. Okay, everybody. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Questions, comments, put them in the comment section of the video. Otherwise, until next time, this is Soap Thing telling you, as always, shave like you mean it. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.